Welcome back, Hopeful Tribe. Today's video is about what is an abusive relationship. The first two videos of the year, we were talking about healthy relationships and what those can look like. But today, I wanted to focus on defining what an abusive relationship is. This is a power and control wheel that was written by the Domestic Abuse Intervention Project, and I wanted to use this as a guide for defining what an abusive relationship is. Let's start out with using intimidation. That's probably the most common kind of abuse that is easy to identify. Using intimidation includes making you afraid by using looks, gestures, and actions, smashing things, abusing pets, displaying weapons, using looks, actions, gestures to reinforce control, standing in front of the door or exit. And before we go any further, I want to make sure to mention that there is help out there. If you look at the ticker below me, you can see 3 ways to get help. And on the website, thehotline.org, there are also local resources. But this is a good place to start. If you're experiencing domestic violence, please reach out for help. And I know sometimes these hotlines, they don't pick up right away, or you get cut off, or maybe you get interrupted by your partner before you're able to finish talking to somebody. But just keep trying, just keep reaching out. And I'm going to share with you for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So these are the 3 ways you can get help. You can call, you can text, you can chat live, right here at thehotline.org. Next, using emotional abuse, putting you down, making you feel bad about yourself, calling you names, playing mind games, making you feel guilty, humiliating you, questioning your identity, reinforcing internalized phobias and isms. These are all different kinds of emotional abuse. And a lot of times people don't see emotional abuse as abuse. They say, well, I'm being too sensitive. It's not that big of a deal. So what? I call them names too. It's not a big deal. But a lot of people believe that emotional abuse is even more harmful than physical abuse. Next, using coercion and threats, making and or carrying out threats to do something to harm you, threatening to leave or commit suicide, driving recklessly to frighten you, threatening others who are important to you, or stalking. Using coercion and threats, those are pretty clear forms of abuse, except for the threatening suicide. I feel like a lot of people don't think of that as abusive. They just think of it as somebody dealing with a really serious mental health issue. However, sometimes when people are threatening suicide, it's an attempt to control you, to keep you from leaving. So, in that case, it is abusive. Using economic abuse, preventing you from getting or keeping a job, making you ask for money, interfering with work or education, taking your credit cards without permission, not working and requiring you to provide support, keeping your name off joint assets. Economic abuse is another often overlooked form of abuse. I had a friend who was a stay at home mom, and she didn't have any real job history, um, really didn't have a career when she met her husband. And so she had a little bit of money, so she handed that over to him and let him handle the finances when they got married. But about 4 years and a couple of kids later, she realized that anytime she needed money, she had to go to him to ask. And that prevented her from being able to get help when he became abusive. So it not only controlled her everyday actions, because she was only allowed to do things he approved of, but also kept her from being able to go get help or leave if she wanted to, because he had 100% control of the money. Using privilege. This can look like treating you like a servant, making all the big decisions, being the one to define the roles or duties in the relationship, using privilege or ability to discredit you, cut off access to resources, or use the system against you, knowing what's best for you. Next, using children, making you feel guilty about the children, using children to relay messages, threatening to take the children, telling you that you have no parental rights, threatening to tell your ex or the authorities to take your children. I think this might be the most reprehensible form of abuse there is. Using children just seems like the lowest form of abuse. I had an ex who used the system against me, um, in retaliation for my leaving them. They would make false CPS reports all the time just to hurt me, because they knew that that was my worst fear, was having my kids separated from me. Okay, next kind of abuse: denying, minimizing, blaming, making light of abuse, saying it didn't happen, shifting responsibility, saying it's your fault, you deserved it, accusing you of mutual abuse, saying it's just fighting, not abuse, accusing you of making them abuse you. Next, using isolation, controlling what you do, who you see or talk to, limiting your outside activities, making you account for your whereabouts, saying no one will believe you, not letting you go anywhere alone. Anytime you're starting to feel isolated because of the actions or words of your partner, it's time to take a good look at it and ask yourself if you're in an abusive relationship. Please reach out, get some help. Feel free to reach out to us at hopefultribe.com or to reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Keep reaching out until you get the help you need. We hope you feel loved and hopeful. Until we see you again.